Welcome back to the channel, and we will be looking at the module 2 of the 2017 past paper. Alright, so question 3 says figure 2 illustrates how the population size of a country X is influenced by demographic characteristics slash factors represented by letter A, B, C, and D. Alright, so let's analyze what we know here. So we just look at the diagram carefully. A and B arrows pointing to the population size, meaning it's adding to the population size. C and D is pointing away from the population size, so it's decreasing the population size. Alright, so A says identify the demographic characteristics or factors labeled A, B, C, and D. Alright, so A and B would increase population size, right? So that would be A would be immigration. So immigration here is that means coming into a country. B would be birth. Birth, it will increase population size as well. So persons coming into a country will increase the population size of the country they are going in. More births you have, that will increase population size as well. C is emigration, and D can be death or mortality. So a population size decreases by emigration or death. Alright. Part B, 1 says outline 2 reasons why urbanization is likely to occur in a Caribbean country. Let me read what we have. So of course, you try to write down what you know for your answer. So we know that urbanization is the shift from a rural to an urban society. Alright, so you know that people are moving from the country and going into the town. Alright, why? That's what they're asking. Why? One could be rural neglect. If you notice, in the Caribbean country, the government don't really focus on everywhere in the country. In the country, right? They focus on certain areas and leave certain areas underdeveloped. So when you call that rural neglect. Some areas of the country is underdeveloped. Those areas that are developed, which is normally the urban areas, people will tend to move to the developed area because you will have more jobs. That is why. More jobs in the developed area. So people will move from the underdeveloped area towards the job area. Alright, number 2. Industrialization in urban area. Those people move to these areas where there is hope of getting a job. Alright. So one of the main reasons is jobs, more jobs and more jobs. So the development of the area that people are seeking, maybe the lifestyle in developed areas a bit more efficient, right? Fast, while those and industrialization, making up more businesses will create more jobs. So those are 2 reasons why. Alright, number 3 said explain 3 environmental impacts of urbanization in the Caribbean. Alright, so when you have a rural to urban shift, there are negative impacts it will have on these countries. So when you see impact in any question, mean the negative effects. Alright, I didn't explain them here, but I list some of them. So this is not explaining. So you would list and then you explain. So let's list 3 of them first. Alright, so you could have traffic congestion, and I know that it means slow time in movement. Certain time of the day, it's very hard to reach home or to reach work or to come from work. It's very difficult. You don't even have place to stop comfortable in the traffic. You will have air pollution because of the release of carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide from the vehicles. You're going to have unhealthy food due to mass production. So remember, in the urban area, you have a lot of factories. They produce a lot of food. Some of them will go to waste, and people will actually take these waste food and sell. That's how the cities work. People will find a way to make living, even if the food is dirty. They will take them up and do something to them and sell them. Alright. Another factor could be inadequate water supply. You can have water pollution and lack of housing. You see, because so much persons are moving to the city, after a while it becomes overpopulated and you get lack of housing. So you're going to ask to explain. This is not explain. You need to explain, define, give examples, expand on your points, look at reasons why it is bad. That's explain. If you notice, a lot of space to write. All right, so you use up the space. All right. The next part of the question says, discuss a suitable approach that can be used to minimize any one of the environmental impact discussed. All right, so let's read how we can mitigate any one of the problem. All right, so the problem we're looking at here is traffic congestion. It says you could develop the rural areas in terms of industry. So the government can find certain industries, certain areas in rural areas to develop, and that will lessen people going into the city. They could make use of organic chemicals and technology farming, such as hydroponics, container farming that can be placed on rooftops. Alright, so like in the city you have a lot of rooftop. What they could do is do a lot of farming there, and that will help to reduce the heat in the Kingston city and the cities. You have a lot of heat, a lot of carbon, so you need more plants to absorb the carbon dioxide and to release the heat. Alright. Watershed protection in the surrounding area. Preserve mangroves in the area. Inadequate water supply. So the surrounding areas near to the cities, you protect the watershed areas. Don't allow persons to cut down the trees, and you don't dig them down and make roads and all of that. You try to preserve those areas. Alright, next part of the question says, number 4 here says, Table 3 shows demographic statistics for 4 Caribbean countries. Use the data provided in the table to answer the questions that follow. Alright. Table 3, demographic statistic for 4 Caribbean countries. Of course, you need to always think about what you know first. We know demographic here means the characteristics of people and population, or population of a country there. Alright, so birth. So here in the diagram it says they have the 4 countries, A, B, C, and D. The number of live births. So people give birth. So birth is a demographic. Number of fertile women. So demographic that will be studied here is the birth rate, or births. Alright? That's the first thing you need to know. Alright, of course, let's read the question. It says, define the following terms. Total fertility rate. Of course, you're going to define what it is. It's almost the same meaning as the general fertility rate, which is the average number of live births occurring to 1,000 women of childbearing age for a year. Alright, so when you're doing fertility rate, there are certain standard information that you have to know in the definition. Alright, of course, it gives you 2 marks. So after you state that you need to explain, you can give the formula or the units of the formula, and that you will earn the 2 marks comfortably. Alright, so of course, fertility rate means births, children having females, women giving births. But our fertility rate is studied in a country. They normally studied it per how many births per 1,000 women. Alright, now the formula says the number of live births during a year divided by the average woman of childbearing age in a year times 1,000. Alright, so when you do your calculations, the unit would be births occurring per 1,000 women, and of course it's done on a yearly basis. Alright. The replacement level fertility says, let's define it. It said replacement level fertility, the average number of children a couple must have to replace themselves in the population. Parent, we normally have 2 parents, a mother and a father, right? So the replacement level fertility, how many children each family will need to have to replace a mother and a father? It will be 2 children. It don't necessarily have to be that it have to be a male and a female, but once they have each family have 2 children, it is good enough. Alright, and there are a number of reasons why this is studied. See, if you have more children, the country going to have to provide more resources. If it have too little, we're not going to have enough persons to do the jobs. So it have to be 2 is the best. If it's too high, you can have poor. The country can be very poor, and if it's too small, it can be very poor as well. So that 2 is the right amount of children to have per family. That's what it's saying. Alright, B. Calculate the total fertility rate for each country in table 3. Alright, so here, again, you just use the formula. Of course, you should always write out what you know. So, of course, you're going to write out the formula. The first thing you need to do is to write out the formula. So you need to know these formulas, so you have to study them. Practice. Alright, so the formula for the general fertility rate, that's the formula we're going to use. It's again the number of live births during a year over the average number of women of childbearing age times 1,000. Alright, so for A, the number of live births here is 434. And what's the population? Alright, the childbearing age of women is 15 to 49 years old. How many women in country A are reach this age? 281,100. Alright, so I'm going to show you the example. I just worked out one of them. So of course, the 434 divided by 281,100 times 1,000. When you are working this out, please pay keen attention. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Don't just watch the channel, subscribe to it. Alright? You should like the video. You can make requests and I'll give you exactly what you need. Alright, if you don't want a whole paper, I can just do one question at a time and post it. Alright, so what happened? You don't cancel. You use your calculator here. You simply just multiply 434 times 1,000. You get 434,000. And then now you just divide it by the 281,100 here. Just use your calculator, plug in the numbers, divide the 434,000 by the 281,100, and you should get the 1.5. If you cancel out, you're not going to get the answer. And of course, when you're writing your answer, it should be children per 1,000 women. So what does it say? For country, we should have written the units here. But anyways, you can practice to do that. It says, so in country A is telling you that this country is for every 1,000 women, they're having 1.5 children per year. For B, it's 2.1 children per year per 1,000 women. And this one would be the replacement level. This one is what each country is trying to reach. Alright, so country A is under this amount, so it's going to be underpopulated. Country C and country D is above, so these are overpopulated. Too many children per 1,000 women. That's what it said. Alright. C said use the values calculated in B to determine which country is as its replacement level fertility. State two reasons for your response. Alright, so as we identified already, the replacement level fertility. Let's write down what we know though. He said replacement level fertility, the average number of children a couple must have to replace themselves in the population without migration. It is standard at 2 or 2.1. As you can see, it's 3 marks, right? So which one of them is 2.1 or close to 2.1? That's country B. Alright. Now you're supposed to expand on that. It says country B is at its replacement level. Country B reflects 2 children per couple, which is the number to replace the population parents. Alright, let's proceed to the next question. Question D1. Explain the significance of the total fertility rates calculated for countries A and C. Of course, we write down what we know. So replacement level fertility, the average number of children a couple must have to replace themselves in the population without migration. It is standard at 2. Alright, let's look at that for A and C. Alright, so here is 1.5, which is low, and C is 5, which is too much. Too much children mean too much resources. The country have to find too much resources to feed them, and it can lead to poverty. When a country has too little children, there's not enough persons to come and take the jobs or to maintain the jobs. Hence, little tax. You have to remember that, little tax, and therefore the country again would suffer from lack of money. So it tries to have the 2 or 2.1 there. If you still want me to read this, then I can. It says A is 1.5 children per 1,000 women, and 5 is 5 children per 1,000 women. Alright, A will not replace the current population. Too much children, so population will need extra resources to take care of them. Alright, I explained that already. Part 2 of the question says, describe 2 environmental impacts that may occur as a result of fertility rates in country C. Alright, country C, as you know, it's 5, which is too much children per 1,000 women. Alright, so of course, one, you have too much children. So what could happen to the environment? Meaning, it says describe 2 environmental impacts, 2 negative effects. So when you see the word impact, it means negative effects. One, you could have overuse of resources, maybe mining of sand, wood. You can have deforestation, such as in Haiti. Deforestation, you have to explain. They said explain, describe. You tell them what is deforestation, which is the cutting down of trees, not planting back enough. The land left bare, you have a lot of soil erosion, water quality is poor because soil is getting into rivers and the stream. You have little to no rainfall. Alright, those would be resulting. You have overexploitation, such as overfishing. Overfishing, you're going to have lack of species diversity there. Alright, the environment, you'll have climate change, ecosystem change. You're going to have more storms, more global warming, more droughts, etc. Alright, so I've just explained these 2, but you can list any 2 of these and explain. Alright, so here, part 3 of the question says, describe 1 measure which the Caribbean government can implement to control the birth rates. It says, describe 1 measure which the Caribbean government can implement to control the birth rate. So of course, the government can do it directly and they can do it indirectly. So to reduce the population, the antinatalist policy, so as I said, they can do it directly, where once they put that policy in place, that policy will get down fertility rates or get them up. Alright, so that's what it means when it's direct. For example, implementation of family planning centers and clinics. So what happened is that each mother would have to go to these family planning centers and clinics, and they will encourage them to take injections and make sure they take injection and do the necessary things to reduce birth rate if they need to. Alright, they will make sure they educate them, directly educate them on contraceptives. Alright, use of condom, injection, pills, sterilization, morning after. Example. Alright, so an example of an antinatalist policy was passed in China back in the days of war, where each parent is expected to have 1 child. And I think they used to kill the females and leave the boys. Alright, to increase the population, so these are to decrease. To increase birth rate, I can use indirect methods where the government give incentives. These methods, they might not reduce. That's what it means. It might not increase the birth rate or reduce the birth rate. But what they do, they provide incentives to mother to remain at home after having their 3rd child. They might remain, they might not. So that's why it's indirect. They give them incentive, it might allow them to remain and have 3 children. They might not have 3 children. They might still go out to work. Alright? They subsidize daycare income tax benefits. They might take the income tax, but they might not help them to, they might decide they will still have more children. Alright, they still might not have enough children. Alright? Promoting early marriage. They might have persons married in, but they might not be having any children the same way. Alright, so it might work, it might not. That's what it means when it's indirect. So of course, based on the answer, you could discuss any one of these.